All right, so we have started working on our Kurtis Midget Racer, Edelbrock powered, and it's going well. It's going really, really well. We've got the little engine and the support, the forward support, all glued together. It's going to be very careful about that shift lever because we do not want to snap that off. Got the bottom of that. I got to do a little bit of fill work right there. Got a little bit of a nick there. That might be operator error on my part, but got all the mold lines shaved off of this guy and sanded down, and the top of the engine block planed, so that's it's gonna be nice and smooth. Let's see, so we're working on the body, and the body is so small, so delicate, so tiny. Look at this little guy. We have the headrest glued onto the seat, and got the angle figured out on there because you can see it does kind of tuck back a little bit. Just some trial and error, and then we held it all together and then dropped in a little bit of Tamiya extra thin to get everything matched up. Now, here is the issue. We're going to zoom in just a teensy bit. There we go. And here, look at this issue here. The seat fits on there pretty well down along the lower armrests, but then when we get up around the headrest, there's a bit of a gappage. And rotate it around the other side. Pretty similar. I have worked this, I'm sorry, this isn't focusing. Have worked this area of the body a little bit with some sanding sticks to even that out a little. It's hard, for some reason that's hard to it's hard to match up on while looking through the viewfinder here. But there we go. But now, it would look really good if we went ahead and were able to cement this in place and then come back with some styrene rod and fill in the gappage that's going on around here. That would be ideal. I do have to look through the instructions to find out if that is actually something we can do. If we can do that, then great, because there's a nice proud line around that. We can mask that off and then paint the seat separate from the body. But painting the seat and the body and then gluing them together, we're not going to be able to fix that, the bad fitment there. So I mean, there is ways I can fudge this around a little bit and get it to fit so that the gap isn't so bad, but that's just going to be asking for a nightmare scenario when it comes to final assembly, when everybody's painted and looking pretty. I've done enough models in my short building career to know that that's asking for trouble. So we're thinking about gluing that all together and then painting it. We'll have to see if there's anything, because I don't know if there's a situation of where you put this together and you have to get to stuff inside there or whatever. So we'll have to see about that. So that's the plan there. We did cut this piece off. This is a little bit of a shroud piece that goes up underneath here, and that's going to match up pretty close. That little, I might have to add a little bit of styrene to that top of the U, because it's not quite fitting perfectly, and I'm not sure how much is going to get blocked by the wheel, because the wheels do stick out a wee bit, but one side's a little better than the other. Put my finger behind there so you can get a better, there's a little lip for this to sit on there. So that side looks really, really good. The other side has a little bit of a gappage to it. So we'll see about, see, there you go. There's the gap there. So we'll see if we can't correct that a little bit too by adding a little small piece of styrene. And then on the bottom here, yeah, it's very trivial, but on the bottom here, there was a little bit of a nick in the plastic. It might have been when I was cutting it off the sprue. A little bit of a nick in the plastic. We filled that a little bit with some of this stuff here, green putty by Green Stuff World. This comes out of, I think, Spain. I got this off of Amazon, and then they stopped carrying it, so I don't, I can get it on eBay, but shipping costs more than the actual putty does, so I'm going to probably have to find something else to fall in love with here. Let's see, that's going to match up like that. So this is a very unique shape and everything, and I've been doing a lot of reading online about Kurtis Craft and midget race cars. Fascinating stuff. It's curious to see how popular this is in Australia now. That's kind of fascinating. Anyway, we'll come back when we have more. Okie doke. So most of the day was spent just cleaning up bits, a little bit of flash here and there, some mold line stuff. Here is the chassis. We have the rear bit cemented in place here, but it's not 100% cured yet, so we're going to let that go for a while. And we have the little firewall mocked up, and we have the instrument panel back glued in place. and then there is a photo etch piece that goes in front, and then an instrument decal that goes along the front there. So that's all much later in the process. But right now that's mocked in place, so we can see if we had this chassis cleaned up pretty good. There was a little bit of flash on the mounting peg that sticks down through there, so it was spreading the frame out a little bit. Went back and filed that down, so that fits really good now. Very happy with how that's looking. And I just love the fact that there will be a belly pan under this, of course, but for right now, it looks like we could just build this whole thing right here on this frame, which I really like. So if you wanted to do a diorama of just having that on some sawhorses or something like that, that's great. Now, this is all going to get stripped. This is the front axle. I decided not to leave it chrome. I just don't like how it looks. I could probably do a panel line wash over the whole thing and tame it or tone it down, however you want to say that. But there's you know, the mold line going through the center there of all the leaves, and I don't know, I think it would look better if we just painted the color of the frame itself, which is going to be gloss red. And then in the back here we have the axle tube, the rear axle tube, that's going to get stripped down also. And then our wheels are going to get stripped, and the differential case. And then also I have, because this is a flathead engine, it's going to have two water pipes coming up off the top of the engine heading towards the radiator. Those are going to get stripped down also. So that's going to be it now. We got a little bit of, this is DEP or DEP, and it's, yeah, put it in a jar with a red lid so we can, you know, it's bad stuff. So, I mean, it's not horrible. It's basically like Fantastic Spray or Fabuloso, depending on where you are in the country. So let's see here. Dip that in there. And usually with this Revell chrome plating, it doesn't take long. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's already coming off of there. So put these guys in for a little dip. I'm curious to see how these go because they do have a weird satin texture to them, which I think may have been done by the manufacturer, by Revell. I don't know. The other kit that I had didn't have something like that. I think it was all regular old chrome. So I'm not sure if whoever had this kit before me sprayed it or not. Let's see here. Oh, here's our fuel pump. That's going in. And this is a bad angle for this. Sorry, guys. These are our water lines, coolant lines, more wheels. And then look at that. That's already done. Ta-da! We'll put that back in there again and get that cleaned off a little bit. Oh yeah, I got a carbs going in there. Let's see. So if you're on the Atkins diet, this is great because it only has 2 carbs. This is the oil filler neck, and this is the fuel pump. So, or fuel pump or fuel pressurizer, depending on how you want to say that. But look at this. It's actually churning and bubbling in there. That's really cool. Science. So that's done. Tell you what, let's get this guy out of there. Get this guy out of there, and we will pull out that guy. That's done. That's done. Looks like these other bits here are taking a little bit longer, the wheels. But yeah, that's really reacting with it. So that's doing its thing. So because of the bubbles, it means it's got some gas coming out of there. I don't know if that's going to be poisonous or noxious or what. So I'm going to leave the lid off of this, but I'm going to take it out to the garage and put it out there. And we'll be back when we got everything all cleaned up. Okay, so it is now the next day. We let this stuff soak overnight. And look at this. This is genius, right? White parts on a white background. Good job. Good job, sir. Gonna slide this all. Come along now. Come along. There we go. All right, cool. I use that to travel from the kitchen sink to here. And now we have all of our parts now stripped. We just got to do some cleanup on things. It's got a little bit of that, I guess it's the lacquer on there, the yellow. A little bit of lacquer on there still, but these wheels cleaned up really nice. Those look great. So that's cool. And differential. So this stuff, these pieces here took a little longer to strip than some of the other pieces. This stuff had the dull or the matte coat on there, I guess. So it took a little bit longer. That's why I wanted to leave it overnight. I like how everything came out. Looks good. We're going to clean these up, address the mold lines on them, get these ready to go. On the back side, back in here, we have we just have it set in the belly pan just to take a look at how everything's going to match up. We do have this glued in place now. We were on a hangout with the Lucas E podcast for his Patreon members, and we were invited to tag along on that last night. So that was a lot of fun. Got to meet some really great folks. And yeah, so this is all glued together. This is in place now, and we're going places and doing things. So that's great. Front suspension, I still want to clean this up a little bit, and then we're going to actually mount that to the frame and paint it all at once. Yeah, so that's going to be gloss red, and we did go ahead and glue in the seat. And we did have a tiny little gap here and there, but we corrected that. I apologize if I don't have it. Yep. Oh, I do have it on the counter. I corrected that with this stuff here, Tulip Slick. So this has a very fine point to the applicator here, and this is a fabric paint, and so it's got that fine tip on there, so you can do lettering or whatever on t-shirts, something like that. But we squirted this on the inside, back up in here. Of course, this is a white on a white field, so bear with me there. But let's see if we can zoom in a little bit there. So you can see it kind of gooped in there a little bit. We squirted some in there, and then we used a cotton bud or a Q-tip and squished it all around where the seat meets the body. And it squished out here and there, and then we came back with the cotton tip, moistened on the end, and then cleaned up where it was coming through. That's how I filled the gap on that there. So all we got to do now is give this a light sanding and get off any excess. And no, you cannot sand Tulip because it's kind of like a vinyl deal. Dimensional fabric paint, yeah. So it does shrink up a little bit, but not as much as some buddies. So it was just easy to clean up that way, and away we went. Now we are sanding the body here a little bit so we can help the paint do its job better. That's the whole philosophy behind my painting technique, is do everything we can to help the paint do its job. And we do have to, I need to zoom back in again, sorry. We have to be very, very cautious of this little guy right here, because that's a locator mark. It's not a hole. It's just a little locator mark for the rear nerf bar. It's on both sides. We need to be very cautious of that. And I have a little bit of excess paint there, cement there. But on this side, we tried to deepen the panel line there, and apparently I could not draw a straight line to save my tuchus, so I ended up having to putty that up, and we're going to have to come back and rescore that. So hopefully that'll go well. But yeah, we just got a little bit more sanding to do on this, and I like how it looks. I really like how it looks. It's coming together pretty nicely so far. So it's a simple little kit with but I'd say it's got a moderate part count for what we're dealing with here, because there's what's here, what's in the jar over here, and there's several more trees of chrome. So I'd say this is at least a moderate part count for such a tiny kit. All right, well, we'll check back when we have more to show. As promised, we are back with a little bit of progress. The frame. This is very delicate. And we have the front end on here now. And this is sort of, it's a little bit of a sloppy fit for this little guy. Unfortunately, I thought to be more positive. I had to go ahead and put these radius arms on there. And it's all mocked up with white glue so I could cement this joint right here. And I tell you guys, I am really happy that we went through this entire process of getting this figured out, because once this was all painted, that was going to be a nightmare. Trying to get a positive location with, even if you scrape the glue off the surface, the paint off the surfaces before you end up cementing everything, it was going to get messy. So I'm really glad we went ahead and did this process here. Other than that, we haven't had too much going on here. We've done a little bit of measuring to make sure that this is side to side and, centered as best we can side to side. and then there's no twist to it, and that it doesn't like rotate. It doesn't really matter if it rotates or not, but it will look weird once we put uh, oh, the tie rod on there, I guess is what it is. But my vocabulary is failing me today. But the back end here, it looks like this leaf spring might be a little flattened on its curve on this side here. So hopefully that's not going to cause us some issues in the future. We did notice that while we were doing some measure ups. The rear axle have the differential all cemented together and cleaned up. And then we have the wheels on here. We're mocking up how the wheels go on. They go on with these little rivet dudes, go through this little flangey peel here. I'm thinking about actually cementing the flange in place, so it reduces another area that could pop off of there. And then once we get the wheels and everything all painted up, we'll just cement those in place. Also, I was thinking about attaching this, capturing the rivet, and putting it to the wheel. But because the rivet doesn't fully seat down inside there, so when we put this on the axle tube, it could be a little sloppy in there. There is a hole in the end, but there's a knockoff that goes on there. So I was a little worried about getting that on there secure enough, so we thought we'll just go ahead and press it onto the axle tube and then put the wheel on there. I think that's how we're going to go now. So that's how that's going to go. Let's see here. Everything else is just kind of floating around, kind of getting worked on here and there when we watch a lot of the YouTubes. And that's basically it. But unfortunately, we have to stop now because we do have a family function we have to attend to. So we're going to go take care of that. And then hopefully we get more bench time. So we'll talk to you all in the next bit.